Well, folks, it feels good to be back after a long weekend. I know that last video I did, the audio wasn't too great. You guys tuned in despite that. I heard some of you guys say things like 2013 YouTube vibes going on. It definitely was a bit of an old school style video recorded with audio off of my iPhone Pro 16 Pro Max or whatever it is. Yeah, apparently the microphone quality hasn't really gotten much better with phones over time. But besides that, obviously it was like a voiceover gameplay using direct footage. It was definitely a very 10-year ago sort of vibe. So thank you guys though for tuning into that video. It was the only video I dropped this week and I had to get it out. And that video is actually relevant today because you see, yes, Nintendo did announce a brand new Direct today. I might as well just get this out of the way now because this is not the point of this video, but might as well bring it up. Nintendo of America says join us on January 29th at 6 a.m. Pacific for the Tamagotchi Life Living the Dream Direct. The presentation will last roughly 20 minutes and provide more info on upcoming Nintendo Switch game. I will be live reacting to this. That is the plan at the moment, to be live reacting to this Direct. So yeah, I'm not like super excited for Tamagotchi Life, but I know a lot of people are. It's actually the 11th best-selling game on the 3DS. That's right, just outside the top 10. So there is definitely a big audience for this game. So I'm very curious. We're talking about the prior one, of course. We're very curious how well this one does. It's obviously a Switch 1 game. It'll play on Switch 2, backwards compatibility and all that. But very curious. This is the last game announced as a Switch 1 game. So I'm very curious if this is it, if Nintendo's done making games for Switch 1 after Tamagotchi Life, or are there still some more Switch 1 games to come? I guess we'll see. And we'll see because the crux of today's video is actually about a Nintendo Direct happening next week. Now, if you go back to my prior video, you will have already known that, hey, we're already talking about a leak for next week. And it came from, it started with Nash Weedle and Attack the Backlog. We talked about this in the last video, right? What are you doing the first week of February? I got a real mess going on, podcast reactions, right? And then, my response, and then how they liked my post. You can see in here, oh boy, and here we go. And then we can look at the post engagements, and you can see in here they liked my post. And obviously this was all about a Direct being next week. And beyond all of that, though, the Direct was probably going to be on the 5th. And I kind of deciphered this from Attack the Backlog. He sort of publicly denied it, but then today kind of came out and said that, I suppose, now that Nate the Hate is saying the 5th of February, he even mentions, of course I hear different before, then also updated that Nintendo Prime had me. And you can see a little post here. This is twice he used the word 5th in a post. I'm on to you, Nintendo Direct February 5th. And there's some others as well. Switch Force is backing this now, and Nate the Hate's backing this. Guys, it sounds like there's going to be a Nintendo Direct next week. Now, before we dive into all the details on that, and even some games that, I don't know if they're going to be in the Direct, but Nate the Hate says are coming to Switch 2, some of them coming this year. Before I dive in, I want to remind you guys, we are on a road to 200,000 subscribers, and obviously we already got it started. We hit 161. Now, obviously, our goal is to hit 162,000 subscribers. We're about 25% the way to doing that in terms of the next 1,000 subscribers. And beyond all of that, I just want to note that while we don't have a current giveaway going on, we're still sorting out the winners for the last one and making sure the prior ones before that were all confirmed. That's my whole goal over the next week, is make sure all our prior giveaway winners are taken care of and obviously publicly announced in the community post. We will be announcing a new giveaway, but we're going to wait till after next week's Direct. It is a decision that I made because next week's Direct could change what we want to give away. So we're just going to wait till that Direct happens, and then I'll make a decision shortly after that for future giveaways on the channel. But until then, I hope you guys are enjoying the content, and let's get into today's news. Now, today's news is mostly about the Nate the Hate podcast because, well, he dropped it today. Here's something he said very, very early on in the podcast.
Now, the first matter we are going to address in this episode is the question everyone has been asking. When is the first Direct of 2026? Would you like to know what I have been hearing, MVG?
I would, Nate, I would love to know what's happening with the Direct. I think a lot of people would also like to know. But before you tell me, can I take a stab in the dark? I think
you can give an educated guess.
I think it's going to be sometime in February.
I mean, February is typically the month Nintendo does have a Direct of some kind, be it a partner Direct. We know we always have the Pokémon Day at the end of the month. That is an annual event. But from what I have been told, the first Direct of 2026 will be held during the opening week of February. Ooh. With an expectation of broadcast on Thursday, February 5th. But I have not been able to confirm that with my best contacts just yet. So if I need to amend and post an update, I'll do so on our social media platforms. But right now, that seems to be the timetable that I'm hearing from my contacts. But again, if I have to amend that in any way, I will post an update on Twitter and Blue Sky. But it feels as though there is a consensus building around that first week of February. And Thursday is usually the day of broadcast for Nintendo. Now, this could be time zone reliant. So I'm not going to say it's definitively Thursday for every region on the globe. It could be one of those situations where it's Thursday in one region, Wednesday in the other. But the first week of February seems to be coalescing as far as when the first direct should be taking place. But again, if I have to update this in any way, I will do so on Twitter and Blue Sky.
Now, yes, what you're seeing there is, well, he doesn't have the date of the 5th confirmed with his best possible sources. They are confirmed from some sources he obviously trusts, or he wouldn't even throw it out there. And next week is like locked in, right? It's locked in. We have him. We have Attack the Backlog saying it. We have obviously Nash Weedle saying it. Both of them hinting towards the 5th as well. And they're not the only ones hinting towards the 5th. How about Switch Force? He said, who said February 5th Nintendo Direct a full week ago? He's claiming that's what he said. And if you go look at his post, you'll see this is the tweet he made a week ago. 2 weeks till Nintendo Direct, 5 weeks till the Direct. People were deciphering this all out over time, and some people figured out that he was talking about how, at the time, 2 weeks till the Direct, and that it would be on the 5th. So kind of interesting. I don't always like when people do this whole disguising things. I guess they're doing it to have fun. They could just come right out and say it. I don't know. That's not really my cup of tea. But anyways, the point is that a bunch of people are now saying a Direct is next week. Reliable people. Zach from Switch Force, remind everyone, was 100% right on everything he leaked last year. Hashtag trust Switch. Hashtag trust Switch Force. Obviously, Nate the Hate. He actually won an award, believe it or not, for Leaker of the Year on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit. So obviously, people find him to be highly reliable. And I think after what happened with the Switch 2 reveal in January 16th of last year, I think it's pretty hard to say that he doesn't have sources. He clearly does, and one of those sources had to be pretty close to Nintendo to nail a reveal like that, that only had Mario Kart in it. So pretty interesting stuff. But the thing is, while this is all fascinating, and I'm stupidly excited for the Direct, in fact, I can announce right now, this Wednesday, we've already decided today, on the Nintendo by Podcast, we will be doing Nintendo Direct predictions. What I wanted to note is that's not everything Nate the Hate gave us. In fact, you dropped this little nugget about Pokemon Gen 10.
But what are your hopes for Pokemon Gen 10? We will see the game in late February with Pokemon Day. Now, at Generation 10, we did have leaked images for promotional purposes come out when Game Freak was hacked. And from some conversations I've had, it sounds as though Generation 10 could be visually pleasing. I'm not going to say it's going to, rival Beast of Reincarnation or even some of the more visually demanding games on Switch 2, but it might be that visual leap that Pokemon fans have been waiting for.
So not only is he saying Gen 10 will be revealed next month, like definitively will be revealed next month on Pokemon Day, from the conversations he's had, it sounds like it could be quite visually pleasing. Now, he does go on to later explain that he's not sitting there expecting this to be like at the top tier of visual prowess from Nintendo games, but finally, at least the way he's speculating it, the way he's been told, it's going to finally be that visual leap forward people were hoping happened in the Switch generation. So again, don't expect anything that's going to like blow your mind, but for Pokemon, it's going to be apparently visually pleasing. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, Pokemon has a pretty low bar for trying to be visually pleasing. So whatever that means, obviously that is going to be outside of the Direct, but I wanted to throw that out there because, again, Nate the Hate said that. And this last bit we don't have the clips for. I listened to the entire podcast and I did hear him say it, but I totally forgot to write down the timestamp. So bad, Nate. I like to show clips, but Nate the Hate, won't deny this because he actually said it. Over here on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, you can say Nate the Hate says Expedition 33, Metal 4, even Final Fantasy 16 will come to Switch 2. The headline's slightly wrong. We've got the quotes though. It says, so titles like Expedition 33 will be coming to Switch 2 in 2026, which is yes, baby. Yes, baby. Expedition 33, Game of the Year last year, coming this year to Switch 2. Again, if that game was coming out this year, probably would have came to Switch 2 at day one. So really happy to see that seems to be a priority for that team. But more than that, other games I've heard of include Atlas with Metaphor ReFantazio, which is, we've kind of heard murmurs on ReFantazio for a little bit now, the last 6 months. So yeah, that coming over isn't too shocking. But here's the thing. That's coming over, obviously, Switch 2 in 2026. But he's also heard about another game from Square Enix. And he says, another game I've heard from Square Enix is under consideration. This is where that headline's a little wrong. It doesn't mean the game's coming. It means it's being considered. I don't know if it'll necessarily come out this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's announced this year is Final Fantasy 16. So he doesn't know if it's coming out. He doesn't 100%, you can see it in the quote here, he doesn't 100% know it's even coming to Switch 2. But he heard it's under consideration. We got to keep those words careful. So what did he say is happening? Gen 10 Pokemon will be revealed next month and is going to be a visual leap forward from what he's been told, from what we've seen with Pokemon, not necessarily to the heights of what Nintendo can do, but for Pokemon, be visually good looking. Also that, Expedition 33 is coming to Switch 2 this year. Metaphor Refantasio is coming to Switch 2 this year. And hey, Final Fantasy 16 was under consideration, and you wouldn't be surprised if it's announced for Switch 2, but comes out in 2027 or something instead, but it gets announced this year. Some of this might be on the basis that he thinks, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth could be coming out this year. So if Rebirth's coming out, then it makes sense to push 16 back a bit. And if part 3 of Final Fantasy 7 is coming out late next year, then you could have 16 early in the year and then, do part 3 later in the year, kind of spread out the Final Fantasies a little bit. That's what I would suspect. Final Fantasy, by the way, number 1 on the eShop charts, sold out at a bunch of different retailers, the physical version. So we got to give Square Enix some credit here. They brought over Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, and it does appear Switch 2 owners are buying the hell out of the game. There was also another story out there. I won't dive too much into it. I'll just briefly bring it up. You can look it up if you want. It wasn't meant to be part of today's video, but it's just on my mind. Koei Tecmo did confirm that they have shipped over 1 million units of Age of Imprisonment. That doesn't mean that's sold through to consumers, but they already made their money on 1 million units, so that technically, for the purpose of Koei Tecmo and Nintendo, it makes it a million seller. Quite interesting, considering the install base for Switch 2 isn't super, super large. But still, having 1 million seller from Koei Tecmo, again, they just continue to see success making Hyrule Warrior style games for Nintendo. That said, guys, a Nintendo Direct next week would be insane. Now, it is notable, and I want to make sure I make this very clear. Nate the Hate made it very clear in his statements. He doesn't know if it's a general direct or a partner direct. He might have more information on that next week, closer to when it happens. And he did say he would just update people on social media as stuff comes in. And if he finds out it's a general or a partner before it gets announced, he'll say something. People are going to ask him every day. That's how it is with the internet. And I got to give Nate the Hate credit. At least on X, he's pretty good at answering the questions. He keeps it short, doesn't waste a lot of time. He basically just says yes or no, or when did I ever say that, if you're claiming something he didn't say. But the bottom line here is a direct is happening next week, whether it's a partner showcase or a general direct. Now, my gut tells me it's a general direct. Look, they kind of cleared the slate here, right? We had obviously all the updates on X for Mario Wonder Switch 2 edition, Bella Bella Park. We've had the Mario Wonder flower toy shown off, the new amiibo. We're obviously doing a Tamagotchi Life direct this week. That kind of gets that game off the slate, so we don't have to worry about it. We had a Mario movie direct this past Sunday, so that gets the movie off the slate, and Zelda's a little too soon to be showing the Zelda movie yet. So that leaves us basically with whatever the hell Nintendo wants to advertise the rest of the year. We obviously know about games like the Dust Bloods. We know about games like Splatoon Raiders, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. We don't have a date yet for the Yoshi, the new Yoshi game. We don't have a date for that yet. That could be in this direct. But beyond that, we expect some new announcements. That's kind of the big thing that a lot of us are waiting for, is new announcements. If you want to know what Nate the Hate and Modern Vintage Gamer are predicting, they're thinking 3D Mario is coming this year. Could be revealed literally next week. I'm on record saying I don't think it's coming until 2028. I would love to be wrong. In fact, I would be honored to be wrong, because I want this game in my Switch 2 last year, let alone this year. Never going to complain about getting the games I want. It's fine if my analysis is way, way off on how the Mario team handles their business. They will have done something they've never done before. And guess what? That's why companies exist, right? To do things they've never done before. Rules are meant to be broken. Molds are meant to be broken. And Nintendo does consistently break molds. So that would not be too surprising, I suppose, if it did come out this year. And some of you guys already expect it. Is it part of my predictions? You'll have to wait and see on the podcast on Wednesday. Or Obviously, you know, we'll be talking about all of this tonight on a live stream. You guys know we go in depth on those streams. I answer your questions. I don't always give all the predictions since I try to save some stuff for the podcast. But you know, we'll have to wait and see on that. I don't know that we're going to do a bingo today. I think we could save the bingo for when it's actually announced. So if it's announced next week, Wednesday for Thursday, we would do a direct bingo on Wednesday night. Because then we'll know exactly if it's a partner or a general, and then that'll obviously direct what our bingo card says. That being said, folks, what do you guys think about a Nintendo Direct coming next week? I think at this point, I know a lot of people get tired of rumors and leaks at times, but dude, you know, we say things, and I shouldn't say we. A lot of people say things like Nash Weedle isn't reliable, you know, because if I threw 50 things at the wall, I'd be right 5 times. And it's like, well, he was right on like 87 to 90% of what he said last year. If you could predict 50 things and be right about 90% of them, I would probably start listening to what you have to say either. There are some of you out there that have actually acutely been paying attention to Thunderstash Gaming on our podcast. And I know this because I've seen the chit chat going on the Discord servers and everywhere else that, well, he doesn't know things. The way that he analyzes the industry, he seems to be able to predict upcoming future announcements fairly well. So some people are starting to pay attention to him now. He's not an insider, nor does he purport to be or want to be. But, you know, his predictions, he's got pretty good. He's like a Nostradamus. Although, was Nostradamus even accurate? We always say, what are you, Nostradamus? But then, like, anyways, point is, folks, Direct seems to be next week. We have Attack the Backlog and Nash Weedle being the first, plus obviously Switch Force going out there, and now Nate the Hate. When Nate the Hate says that everyone pays attention, it's being widely reported everywhere. He also said on X or something that a state of play is happening in February as well. Not as relevant for us. We may live react to it. We'll see. But we for sure are going to live react to the Tamagotchi Life Direct this week, barring any unforeseen circumstances. And we will be live reacting to the Direct next week. We have podcast episode this week, podcast episode next week, which is really exciting because Roger's Base will be on for the episode before the Direct. That's pretty cool. Nice to have him on for a little prediction time, a little bingo time, a little, what the hell is Roger's Base think is happening? You know how much that guy loves Nintendo. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Nathaniel Robojans from Nintendo Prime. Feels great to be back in the studio and making this video for all of you. And you know what? I'm manifesting the 40th anniversary of Zelda. I'm going to keep wearing this hat, hoping that we get some Zelda announcements next week. Otherwise, folks, I'll catch you in the next video.